Okay. So, ouchie for the Toronto Blue Jays yesterday. Holy. This is kind of the mark of the Jays season. So Saturday, right? They score all these runs and you go, is this a turning point? And then Sunday they don't score anything and you go, oh, never mind. Then they beat the Baltimore Orioles and you go, holy crap.
With only 9 guys.
Yeah, they could win a series. Kikuchi goes out there and deals, and all of a sudden, like, Bo Bichette is piecing up some baseballs. And I actually had some of my friends texting me, are we back?
Yeah.
And to which I replied, what are you doing? Yeah. And then, of course, the Jays get into the ninth, and John Schneider survives 2 questionable bullpen calls that both turn out to be great. And actually, I watched Blair and Barker after while I was getting ready to watch do Real Kipper and Bourne. And Barker brought up that Mountcastle's numbers against Kikuchi are just like completely eye-popping, and it was a real no-brainer. But either way,
because he's a Blue Jay, and Ryan Mountcastle just mounts the castle
that's
that
true.
is the Blue Jays.
Yeah, that's true. But either way, in the moment, lifting Kikuchi for Zach Pop, who looks great, but still it's Zach Pop. It's a guy who didn't break camp.
He was also at 88 pitches, too.
Sure, but 88 is not... Okay, hey, if there's been one thing with John Schneider, I would say he has a problem lifting Kikuchi a little too early sometimes. And for whatever reason, he trusts him far less than the other 3 starters, let's say, because now that's what they've got. And then he goes to Tim Meza instead of Yimi Garcia, who has been outrageously good this season, who is the only guy that you really believe in and who just came in and bailed you out.
Is magician, getting out of second and third and none out, the middle of like the best lineup in the American League. No big deal. And I get, you got to play the platoon advantage, but it's like just, also, I don't know, people doing that with Mariano Rivera. It's like, but he's a righty.
Yeah, exactly. So that works out. Like, holy crap. And then, bang, a home run that's off the top of the scoreboard, hits a fence.
Home run, surprisingly, I was to find out, I was like, oh, that's like 3 ballparks. That's a home run. 9 of the 30.
Okay.
Yeah, so obviously like Yankee Stadium, not Toronto, obviously, because there are no home runs.
I didn't
Rogers
feel
Center.
it was as jokey of a home run as some felt. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I didn't feel that in the moment. I felt like he crushed that baseball, and it's at least in another ballpark. What, like, you think it's an out?
At Rogers Center, it is. Yeah, it was so high that like even if it's at the wall, you have time to get all the way back there and catch it.
Anyway,
that's 100% an out. Sure. It's not off the. It's not like a double or anything.
Yeah. So crushes it for a home run off of Jordan Romano, and weirdly, there's a review where they're like, the crew chief's going to go and check it out. It's like, we all know what it is, and it just stalls the Orioles celebration, and I
was fine with that. But no, I also thought it was close enough. Now you had to see.
Fine.
You thought for sure, like right off the bat, you're like, for sure. Well, I mean, it is the Blue Jays, and you're like, obviously it's something bad is going to happen.
Here's what I guess I shouldn't trust the outfield fans because those are just like drunk guys who are rooting for it. But they had the perfect view of it.
The Amish guy in Kansas City. He's like,
I
trust that guy.
Don't say that.
Trust him.
I don't ever.
With my life.
Don't ever say
I don't know
that.
why I'm putting that accent on you.
I don't know, but I'll tell you this. If there's one person I don't align with on anything, it's the Amish liar. Like, don't ever say that. If you were trying to defame my character, you'd like put me side by side with that guy holding the baseball where he's like, and I didn't grab it. And then a quote from me on the other side of the meme, implying that we are both liars. That is how that would work. Anyways, this was a long-winded way of me recapping. I basically just did Jays in 30 for you, but
thank you.
Where I'm going with it, where I was going with this is, it didn't hurt.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way.
I gotta be honest.
Especially considering how many incredible plays Blue Jays made previously in that game, and the Bo Bichette, like after they went down 1-0, which normally for this team is a death blow. 1-0, and then they came up with a big 2-run double off a glove to right field, which also is probably impacted by the jokiness of the ballpark.
Not only that, okay, so Springer got on base with a foul ball that hit the base.
That's a fair ball.
You think that was going to be a fair ball? Oh, I mean, now it turns it. Of course, I'm just saying that it was hooking foul and bounces off the base and kicks weird. And then Bo Bichette hits it hard, but it, like, if it's not Santander or Teo, that's an out. And
that's a tough play.
Fine. I if it hits you in the glove, I have a hard time being like,
it's catchable.
Yeah.
It's definitely catchable.
Anyway, they scored 2 runs. The point is they scored 2 runs.
They knocked the starter out before the 5th inning.
Yeah.
Got to a bullpen, which is like the major area of weakness for the Orioles.
A bullpen that the Jays bullpen is so weak that coming into the series, there were rumors that they were trying to buy from the Jays weak bullpen.
And they didn't even see their best guy, who the Blue Jays own, by the way, Yennier Cano. They got 1 hit the rest of the way.
Yeah, okay, so here's where I'm at with this and where I'm going with it, because I think people, if you've listened to the show long enough, you understand that I really want to see this baseball team win. Mm-hmm. I spend a lot of my summers down at the ballpark. I do this for a living. I have to talk about this team throughout the summer. But the reason why I was okay with the loss, or I guess it didn't hurt, is everybody knows this ain't it. No. Except for one guy in particular, I guess maybe 2, but the front office. Like, the front office tried to gaslight everybody this offseason. They went up to a podium and they said, nah, I know it was weird and it was tough or whatever, but it's going to turn around. It can't be that bad. We've got all these numbers, and they're basically saying that all of our guys had the season from hell, and we still made the playoffs, and bad bounces, and we made a bad mistake in lifting our starting pitcher while he was cruising. But ultimately, come on, it can't be that bad again. And then they had an offseason where it was like worse, where they kicked the fan base in the stomach with the Shohei news and signed absolutely freaking nobody. And they came back here and they went, trust us, it's going to be better. They're just gaslighting over and over. Oh, it's going to be fine. The offense is going to turn around. We're going to turn around. We're going to turn around. And if you don't believe in it, you're just like a negative fan. You're not a real fan. And now we're watching them in a season where the sample size continues to grow, and people are like, well, it is just May. And you're like, no, it's not May. It's not. Even though it is, it's not. Not on this team, right?
Yeah.
We've seen this team. Like, swapping in Justin Turner for Brandon Belt is not like confusing people as to what this baseball team is, right? People are going like, well, it was really transformed. It was really gross. Watching Ernie Clement just poorly play third base over and over and over again is not making people go, oh, right, this is a significant upgrade on what they had in Matt Chapman. I think that there's at least an underlying fear with me that they win some of these games, that they eke out some of these games, and it allows the front office to continue to gaslight you when everybody really knows that the very least, that the conversation shouldn't be, are the Jays trying to win a World Series this year? Because that feels out. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. It should be, are they retooling or rebuilding? Because that's the conversation right now, and that's the only one that we should be having about this baseball team.
I think, okay, so I feel like one of the questions you're going to ask me is like, is it better that during the soft spot in the schedule that they just lose instead of like win the games, they get them back to 500 where they go
I'm torn on it because I don't care. Like, tanking isn't a thing.
No.
Like, tanking's not a thing at all. Like,
not, although Adley Rutschman was 1-1, so it'd be nice to have that, but you're not going to be 1-1.
And
now there is the lottery.
Tanking
there is the lottery now.
Tanking is a thing. Actually, Adley Rutschman.
There is a lottery.
That's how they got that guy?
Yeah.
Tank.
Yeah, no, I hate tanking, and I know it's the best way to build your franchise in North American pro sports.
You got to do it for years, and I don't have the appetite for that. Nobody does.
And it's not a guarantee.
No, I'm not living the life of an Orioles fan for the last decade to live this way.
It's more fun for the Blue Jays to win in this next stretch of games and get back to No, it is. It is. Because it won't change the underlying truth, though, that this team, the things that you said are true. That there is, I don't know what would have to happen for me to be convinced that, oh, you know what? Actually, there is a World Series team in there. I suppose if Vlad looked like 2021 version of himself and Bo's going, and like on the strength of those two guys alone, like, and David Schneider is this, and finally we get George Springer moved down the lineup, and like the offense.
You didn't even say George Springer gets better. It's
that's
just
done.
He bats last.
He's done.
That was your positive
hits
for
ninth,
George.
and like he doesn't like his sulky vibes don't infect the rest of the team.
Yeah.
It's
that's when he got that double yesterday. I'm sorry, I don't want to crush this guy. I don't want to make this personal or anything, but when he hits that double yesterday and he's on base and he's doing the like rally stuff back to the dugout, I'm looking at him going, "Hey, you like won't get out of the leadoff spot. You're like, hey guys, I'm just one of the dudes, and everyone else on the team's like, we all hit better than you now. Why are you doing this? Why are you holding us hostage? Anyways, I just couldn't.
Nice. It would be a nice narrative for him if he came out and was like, hey, listen, I know it's hard for you to do it. I'm gonna sacrifice. I'm not hitting it. I'm not hitting right now. I gotta hit ninth.
What is it? You know what though? The bigger thing is what Blair said to me yesterday, where he goes, what does it say about the Jays manager and Mattingly and the offensive coordinator and Schneider and the grip he has in the clubhouse, that they don't feel that they feel prisoner
by
the guy making $25 million who should be like, hey, dude, you're happy no matter what, right? You got $25 million coming to you per year for the next 2 years after this one?
What's confusing to me, and it was the same thing I was thinking about with Sheldon Keefe, is like, you should be desperate. You're going to lose your job. Like, why aren't you taking wild swings?
Yeah,
like, why? Okay, obviously it doesn't make sense to break up all these guys on the number one power play unit, and they should be good enough, but they're not. Like, and we have a huge sample. Why aren't you trying it? What are you doing? You're going to be fired. Why aren't you stepping to a microphone after these games saying, this is unacceptable after game 4 and saying, I'm not saying that it's going to work, but like, try something else. Why are you're John Schneider, you're going to be fired and you might not be hired again. I mean, the history of recent Blue Jays managers would suggest that you're not. Charlie Montoyo, not on the short list of any managerial openings that I'm aware of. Neither is John Gibbons. So this could be it for you, that you're like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because you're getting marching orders to do so. I can't imagine. And you've also, like, he did show an ability to do something drastic when he arrived in 2022, bumping Bo down to 7th. Like, he did that once. I don't know what's going on here. If it were me, I'd be doing everything. Like, I know you don't want to.
Okay. At least give the perception that you're doing everything.
Not even the perception, like just trying something, because what you're doing is not working.
Even though it might not be something that has tangible results, at least people can say, well, he did exhaust every option.
Yeah, but to be doing nothing is just
crazy.
It's cuckoo bananas.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you need to see. I just, it's very confusing.
Yeah, but okay, so back to the main point that you were driving at, though, which is you don't think even a winning streak changes the outlook here? Because I do. Because, again, you got to remember, these dudes are going to be trying to save jobs. Like, Ross Atkins. Yeah. Ross Atkins is not like, I guess I'm fired. It's already over.
We saw them make the playoffs last year, and everybody said the thing that ended up being true. It's like, okay, they made the playoffs. That's not a World Series contender. Like, if they make the playoffs this year, I mean, who's going to believe they have a shot against any team of any renown, right?
Well, I don't even think that they're going to make the playoffs, but also, this is one of the things that I think is the worst part of Toronto sports right now is the goalpost moving that has happened. With the Leafs in particular, where they've gone, well, they've had these good regular seasons, and, the team is good, and they're competitive, and they're, and it went from win a Stanley Cup to win a first round. And the same thing has happened with the Blue Jays now, where Blair said it yesterday. This was a team that we all thought was 100% going to win a World Series.
If they make the playoffs in 2021,
you're ruining the show. Ruining the show. Don't ruin the show. I have another question for you. But okay, so you really do believe that if they win a bunch of these games, because this is the fear I'm living with. That's why it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt the same anyways. It hurt for a second where I went, oh my God, are you kidding me, right? But then it was just dissipated immediately by the fact that what I want to see is this team not make the mistake of holding on to tradable pieces, to holding on to guys who are about to enter free agency. Make sure that you get maximum return. Try to restock the cupboards. Move on to a different general manager that, does some positive things for you instead of just gaslights you and tells you that the team is good, even though literally anybody, like, you could put a fan in this position at this point and they could find a better way to produce runs than Ross Atkins did. And I don't want to see them do the Raptors fake comeback on the season, stand pat, or add a piece or two. Like, that to me is the worst. If you're doing what are the worst outcomes, right? The darkest timelines. That's the darkest timeline, is that the Jays go into next offseason without having replenished anything and then trying to decide if they're going to re-sign Danny Jansen, Kikuchi, Jimmy. Like, that's a nightmare.
I got bad news for you. I think the decision's going to, be hard either way. Like, I think
it should be the easiest decision.
I don't think the Blue Jays are going to be bad enough to make it obvious. I think even if they're at 500, above 500 in July, you should, especially if they're doing it on the strength of,
on this, though?
What they should do?
Yeah.
Sell off the guys that are pending free agents.
Yeah, okay, cool.
But not like a full scale, recoup some assets that are at the upper minor leagues, maybe somebody that can help you, that like swings a capable bat and not a newspaper when they step to the plate.
Yeah.
For 2025. Also, like, man, the history of teams that do that, where it's like, they could go in or they could sell. Like, even the Orioles did this, right? Where they they sold, had like a soft sell before they actually became the Orioles that we know. And
that was a very soft sell, though. They sold
their closer.
Yeah, and the Mancini.
Yeah, Trey Mancini. Yeah. yeah, the teams don't always like. It's like, oh well, all the players, they're gonna realize you don't think you have a chance, and they're all gonna like quit, and everybody's gonna suck.
Oh, okay.
It's like usually sometimes like the young players who might arrive because some of the pending free agents are sold out of town, like perform and you get better.
That's where I'm at too.
It's I don't think it's going to be a team. The team is 20 games under 500, and it's like, well, yeah, you're an idiot if you say. I think it's going to be a hard decision, but one that you have to make. And I don't know how you can make a different one if you've watched what we've watched now for a year and 2 months.
Dude, here's the thing too, and I would tell this to ownership, the front office, if they came in and they went, hey, we need a dumb guy who likes going to the ballpark and crushing Bud Lights.
Oh, buddy.
But he can articulate some sentiment of how the fan base is feeling. I would tell them, I really believe for a long-term ticket standpoint for this season, not just moving forward, for this season, if you trot out a losing lineup or a team that is fraudulent in July and you go past the trade deadline or you make indications that you're trying to push, quote unquote, for a playoff spot and you're kind of on the cusp of it or whatever, people are going to do what they did last year, which is not show up for the Texas Rangers series. It's going to be...
But last year, it made a little more sense because, like, at least there were players that you're like, oh, man, Matt Chapman, why do you stink so much?
No. But I'm not saying that they made a mistake last year not selling guys. They needed to keep the team together. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that you can have the best of both worlds here. You clear out some of these guys.
Yes.
You're indicating to your fans that this is not acceptable to you, that you also finally understand that this team ain't it, because we all see that they ain't it. And by telling us about the positive regression and showing us here's the 5 reasons why you can believe that this, it's like, no. Nobody wants that anymore. You either do it in spectacular fashion or you kind of shut up about it. By you selling off some of these pieces, calling up some of these AAA guys, like giving a Relvis Martinez an opportunity and giving you a reason to go down to the ballpark and say, oh, actually, I want to see some of these new guys. What are you going to risk? Going from 2 runs to 1 run?
Yeah.
Like, what?
No, you can't be any worse.
Yeah, you can't be worse.
Literally, the team worse than them has been shut out, I think, like almost 10 times this season, the Chicago White Sox.
That's it. So you can't get worse offensively. So move out some of these guys, show that you're trying to go in a different direction and actually pivot, and give some fresh blood to a fan base that is crying for it. I genuinely think that you will have a better shot at putting butts in the seats under that circumstance than by holding on to all these guys and running it past the deadline and saying, we're trying to get to 86 wins to get to the second wild. Like, no, that ain't going to work. That ain't going to fly.
You're insane if you hold on to Jimmy Garcia past the deadline.
Correct.
Even if you're 500 or a game above, you're in the
I
final
think there are
wild card
4 guys
spot.
that if you keep, you are out of your mind.
Nuts. Yeah, and it's unless you're like re-signing Danny Jansen, which you should have serious conversations about doing.
I love Jano, but you.
But I mean, what's your backup plan there?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, there's nobody walking through that door.
Yeah.
Like pretty clearly, I think the sample is growing that Alejandro Kirk ain't that guy anymore.
Well, and the other, you know what? Actually, you've kind of talked me back on Jansen. The only problem with Jansen is that it's like, again,
the aging curve on that.
The aging curve, but also you always have to accept that at least a month of the season he's going to miss.
Yeah, but that's a catcher. That's like generally a catcher.
Yeah.
You know, like
but
Buster
the free
Posey,
agent market for catchers this year is completely empty. There's nobody there. That's why Danny Jansen, though, he might sign the max contract. He might be on the LeBron James type of deal. Because
I mean, it's such a demanding position physically that Buster Posey was like, there's probably like, I don't know, upwards of $20-30 million more I can make, but it's like, my knees hurt. I'm going to go home now, please. Can I stop? And
Buster Posey, I think, is my most hated baseball player ever because he ruined the coolest thing about the sport, which was crashing into the catcher.
You can still do it in theory.
I hate it.
It
that
can
rule
happen.
is confusing. Blocking the plate, not being able to run into a guy.
Yeah.
Buster Posey is like if I could go in a time machine, butterfly effect, get rid of any baseball player in history, I'd get rid of Buster. I'd be like, bleep, he's gone. And then finally we have like a cool sport again. We're like, nice, this is pretty sweet. This is pretty sweet.
Yeah,
he was the sweet candy baby, the apple of the eye of baseball. They were like, he's the face of baseball, and you heard him, and now we're gonna change the sport forever.
I
for
mean,
the worst.
with that review yesterday, the Danny Jansen swipe tag,
I was
where
like, okay, I don't know.
part of that being like they're also reviewing for whether he
tagged him, which he didn't.
Yeah, well, okay. we can argue about that. I didn't.
What
I thought,
you saw?
No, I did not see it.
I saw
though.
a guy swipe. Yeah, I saw a guy completely swipe through and his arm not move at all. Yeah,
I did not see
all
it.
I'll say is I said thank you, thank you. It not being common sense.
Yeah.
Thank you. It being conclusive. 100%. He is the father.
There should be a penalty like they have now in the NHL for challenging an offside or a goaltender interference. But only for like if you challenge the catcher thing.
Yeah.
Because that thing is so like egregious.
Yeah, it's true.
Like the calls that have been made on that thing. If you have the gall, especially like if it were John Schneider, a former minor league catcher, challenging somebody else for like some ticky-tack blocking the lane thing, you should lose a run, honestly.
Yeah, I actually think this is one of the best ideas you've ever had. You're totally
the Jays
right.
would be down to -1. Jays would lose a game 0 to -1.
Yeah, they really would. That's incredible. I'd love it too if they had to decide who lost the stats.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, you have like a designated guy. Like it's a bench minor, and it's like, who's our worst player? You throw him in the penalty box.
John Schneider is heading down to the dugout to tell some unfortunate news to Ernie Clement. He's like talking. Ernie Clement's throwing his glove down, yelling at him. He's like, "Why me?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I just don't think. I think the question to me is retool or rebuild, and I think I'm actually. I think I'm closer to the rebuild than most people are. I would say that I'm more of like I see the retool part of it, but I would look at it this way. If they did do a retool and I went, yeah, you didn't cut deep enough. Like I'll know it. Like it's one of those things you'll know it when you see it. And if they started to do it and I said, nah, keep going, keep going. So
what is that? That's all the guys that are pending unrestricted
I would
free
say
agents?
that you actually kind of talked me into the Jansen thing.
Back?
Just because, Kirk looks completely lost at this point.
He's a great defender, though. It should be said. Like,
we're doing that?
Yeah,
Okay.
as long as there's no...
Sure. Tell me about how great of a defender is.
Like, really great.
Yeah,
like, steals, lots of
yeah.
strikes. As long as we don't have robots, which I think
you know
we
who
should
else
have.
could do that?
Who?
Like all the guys that aren't even like in the major leagues right now that are down in the minor leagues.
Like literally, he's one of the best in baseball.
I think that it's like right now, if you had to say what are there the most of, I would say food delivery service people like, downtown on bikes ready to like bring you a food order. Like if you need a guy to bring you some food right now in Toronto, you got it. And then number 2 is defensive catcher that can come up and give you some good defense at the major league level. Okay,
I think you're underrating that position.
I'm obviously doing this for effect, but I'm just telling you that I don't care if he's
easier to get than a guy.
Bar moving. This is what I'm talking about. Is the bar moving for Alejandro Kirk?
I'm not moving the bar. I'm just saying that he provides you some value even when he's not hitting.
What? When you know what a good defensive catcher should be called?
A backup catcher.
Yeah, correct.
But that's what he is.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So it's like the idea. You're right. The idea of pivoting off of Jansen, and then not having someone. If you're doing the retool or the reload, whatever we call it, yes, I think there's a case for Jansen. I don't think this is a case at all for Garcia, for Kikuchi.
No,
you have to trade Kikuchi and you have to hit on it. It cannot be your new J Happ trade where you blow it and you only get back 2 crappy players that don't end up working out for you. Although Drury, I think, went on to have somewhat of a career, but your boy McKinney, who stiffed our show last minute, when you were the only guy that defended him. Yeah, those 2 guys, that can't be the return on that.
You had your whole Brandon Drury thing is that he wouldn't get the chances that he's getting if he didn't if he didn't have baseball face. Like
he was so
true
handsome.
with Billy McKinney.
Great. Yeah.
Billy McKinney also had the draft pedigree too. I want to say he was a first-round pick.
Dude, whenever people go, he looks like a baseball player, I'm always like, you think he's cute.
That's right. Yeah, it is one of those.
He looks like a baseball player. It's like
looks like a hockey player.
Yeah,
you don't want to look like a hockey player.
You
want to look
correct.
like
looks like a hockey player is actually the opposite. It's like you think he's ugly.
Dude, you should rank the sports by like who you want to be confused for, what sport you want to be confused for. Like golfer.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say he looks like a basketball player.
But it just means you're tall.
No, but that's not a thing. You say, he's a hooper, as in like the guy has the mind for it. He understands the game. He's good at the game. It's not visually. I know.
No, tall. Like if you're above 6'5", you look like a basketball player. What are you talking about?
But the one you're saying is like a person would say to you in the street where they would go, Are you a basketball player?
Yeah,
you're
it's
tall?
just because you're
But
stupid tall.
That doesn't happen in a broadcast. There's no guy that goes, he looks like a basketball player.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm just talking about like on the street.
Yeah.
What do you want to be confused about? It's like, are you a baseball player?
Yeah.
And I don't
No, but in baseball
yeah.
and in hockey, those are two sports where they will say like he looks like a ball player or he looks like a hockey player. Like those two sports are exclusively the announcer would say it.
Yeah.
If you said that in basketball during a broadcast, people would be like, "What the hell?"
That's what he does. Yeah,
it's the weirdest. He would sound like a freak.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, back to what we were talking about: the reload or the rebuild. Those are the number one guys. Turner is gone immediately if you can find it. It doesn't matter because you don't get much back.
And Kiermaier, same deal.
Yeah, sure. I guess the more upshot of trading Kiermaier is not what you get back. It's more that you're just like, hey, we need Varsho to play center field permanently now, and we're moving off of this. I would try to trade Springer. Like I would do but I think that's an off-season move where you eat a bunch of the money.
But I don't know why, and Kevin Kiermaier has kind of become the fourth outfielder now, but like, him taking up a roster spot right now, like I think you can easily clear one up by Daniel Vogelbach DFAing, which feels like we're a second away from that happening.
Buddy, I felt that every day I wake up and I'm like, is today the day that Vogelbach is gone?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was always the way that it was going to go for that guy.
It is going to be incredible when he gets signed by the Cincinnati Reds and OPS is like 900.
But that's also the Daniel Vogelbach thing, right? We saw him for, 5 games? It's amazing, though, that the Blue Jays are going to have him for this run, which is now a growing sample. Yeah. And not once have we seen the home run.
No.
He hasn't hit one home run for the Blue Jays. That's his thing. It's like you get the walks, you get the strikeouts, and you get the home runs.
Yeah,
once, maybe?
Yeah, just get one of them. Do one.
Just one.
He really suffers, too, from looks like he doesn't care at all.
He cares the most, though.
I agree. I'm just saying that whenever he's like strikes out or he's like out, he's just like, he's got a huge chew and he's like, oh, wow. I got my $2 million. Where's your $2 million? You're like, damn it, I don't have $2 million. Anyways, what's the most important thing to you then what's your priority one if they do a reload or a rebuild? I guess let's just say reload because that's where you're at.
Rebuild
But what's priority number one? Because again, you watched Kikuchi yesterday and you go, should you re-sign that guy? And I'm like, I don't know. He's 32 years old and
he's having the best year of his career.
That's what I'm saying. I don't like when you re-sign guys in their early 30s to what's going to be their last contract after a career year. It's just for me, it gives me the scaries.
Yeah, no,
and I love Kikuchi, man. Like he's genuinely my joy of the season. Like if you said, hey, what's the number one thing that gives you happiness? It's when I check the Sportsnet app and I see that Kikuchi is pitching tonight.
My number one priority is dealing with the Baltimore Orioles and their number one farm system. I do not care at all about them being in the division, which is only 13 games now. There's a million playoff teams now, too. Like the schedule is more balanced. You play all 30 teams or all 29 other teams in Major League Baseball. That's the number one farm system in baseball. I'd be calling up all the teams that have top 5 farm systems in all of baseball. It's getting somebody, a position player,
right?
No, it's getting a position player that you think is, if not like an automatic to be in the major leagues in 25, a guy that's going to compete at the upper level of your minor leagues, which is not all that difficult to do considering the lack of minor league talent that this organization has
but
produced.
I'm saying like out of the things you can control, right? So I guess that is what you can
position
control.
Players. I'd be targeting position players.
Yeah,
position players. Because even if you lose Kikuchi, I mean, I guess it depends on whether Alek Manoah is a major league player or not. But like, I'm hopeful enough that he can be at least a guy that you pencil into your rotation. You've still got 4 starters next season. And bullpen guys, you're always going to, every offseason, have to go into the free agent market on relief help.
Yeah.
And you hope that some of your failed, like Ricky Tiedemann's a bullpen guy now, it feels like. He's on the fast track to being Nate Pearson. But yeah, you need position players. Position players.
Yeah. Seems like a long list of things you need. New GM, new manager, new all bats, new farm system.
Yeah. It's true. It's like, you need position players. You mean 8 of the 9 positions that are on the field? Like any of those guys that swing the bats?
Do you think Alex Anthopoulos ever like calls them and is like,
how's it going over there?
He's like, we're looking for a minor leaguer. I was looking at your minor league, though. It doesn't seem to be there. The Cubs kind of look there. we'd love to do a deal. We'd love to help you out, but the covers just look bare. They just don't look like there's a lot of depth. Anyways.
Yeah, you guys could have used, God, I can't even remember his name, the left-handed starter prospect that he traded away for David Price.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, no, the guys that you
really killed
moaned
us.
about me trading away in 15 at the deadline.
You really killed this team with the most exciting run that they've had outside of the World Series. You really set them back.
Daniel Norris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God,
Boy,
what a career.
If only you had Daniel Norris.
Yeah. Was he the one that lived in a van down by the river?
That's correct.
Yeah, that was what he was most famous for. He's like, I like to surf. And we're like, nice.
God, I really do need a thorough retelling of that meeting between Mark Shapiro and Alex Anthopoulos.
I think we've heard it enough.
No, but specifically, was he so you traded away the great left-handed fireballer Daniel Norris for a pending free agent David Price when you were below 500?
Yeah.
How dare you?
No, I think the sentiment is more, at that, especially we're coming in, and instead of giving us our full leverage, our full ability to maneuver, you've changed the way in which we can do it. Which is funny because the only successful season they've had is 2016, and it was all because of Anthopoulos.
Yep.
And they were like, well, we have to compete that year because maybe they didn't want to compete that. They wanted 2016 to be 2017.
He said that explicitly. I forget what the quote was.
Yeah, but anyways, we went from those years to quickly Atkins sitting in front of microphones going, look at all the years of control we got. And guess what? All the years of control we got from all those players. It's like, look at them go.
Yeah.
Oh, so many controllable years of all the Jays you love right now. All of your guys that
I love my little guys.
Yeah, I love my little dudes. Anyway, okay, so this is what I want to ask you this, and then we'll break in and we'll talk about it with a wider scope. What's your biggest Blue Jays what if? Because I think we are now, I'm going to dub this the what if era of Toronto sports, because I think that you could make the case for all three teams right now, like the Raptors. What if they pick a direction earlier, right? The Maple Leafs, there's a billion, okay? There's quite a few. What if the contracts get done differently? What if they keep a different general manager? What if they act sooner? What if? There's a billion different things, right? But for the Toronto Blue Jays, what is your biggest what if of the Bo and Vladdy, or I could just say the Shapiro-Atkins era, because that's more what this actually is.
So you threw me off a little bit when I tried to bring up the 21 season, finishing one game out, and I want to leave that one for you because it feels like that's yours.
Well, no, you can say it because we can both. I think that's
another
it.
one though.
No, I think that's it. I think if they get in 2021, they do damage.
Yeah.
And then it has the ripple effect of the Seattle thing doesn't matter. They don't react to it the same way because they know that the offense works. Yeah. The team vibes stay high. Yeah. All of a sudden, those guys are a winning culture. They've gotten there.
The 21 thing is most difficult because
that's it.
Not only because they missed the playoffs by a game, and not just because of the Yankees series and the game that who was it? Hyun-Jin Ryu started that game. That's not the game.
Yeah.
It's that there's a single play.
Yeah, I hate that. I really do. I know.
No, but there's
it
nothing.
Hurts me.
But it's Marcus Semien has
Detroit,
out number 27 in his glove in a game that you're leading. That is there was not a more routine play made in baseball in 2021 than the one he threw away and the loss that they sustained in Detroit. It's what do you mean? That's
No, the reason why I don't love it is because Semien was so important to that particular team.
I mean, he set the record for most home runs by a second baseman.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
In baseball history.
There was also, I'm trying to pull it up in terms of what the exact stretch was, but they went in and had a series. They had a road trip where it included I know the Nationals were in
before they needed the incredible September run, remember, to revive their chances, and they had that incredible comeback against the A's. But August, it was Dante Bichette was trying to talk people off the ledge as to why the offense was sputtering so much.
So it was this stretch where they had Seattle, who was terrible. They lost. Let's look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 7 games, and that included 2 in a row to Washington.
Detroit in there too.
That was where it happened with Semien. That's where he did throw the ball away.
Yeah,
it's that was the culmination of it because that one happened in that game went to extra innings and they lost. Right, They were up. I think that was the last game of that series, actually. I think that was the Sunday game. Either way, you look at this stretch, and that's what killed them. And so whenever I look at it more as Semien was the cherry on top of that stretch that killed their season, because they had to just like win a series against Seattle, Washington, or Detroit, and they lost all 3 series to those terrible teams in the middle of August, and it killed them. So yeah, the what if there would just simply be, what if they are their normal selves in that series? What if they get into the postseason as the hottest team? If they get into the postseason as the hottest team, I think that all of the dominoes break differently for this group. The fan base is satiated in a different way. They fall in love with the group in a different way. They're kind of beloved figures right out of the gate. They're looked at as young and clutch, and that they have this culture. I don't know if they keep Semien. I think he's gone either way, because the contract would have been so massive, like that they probably don't pay it at that juncture.
But the biggest thing is the thing that you said that I thought was a separate thing, but you're right to tie it into this. Is if you just don't make the Teo or the Moreno trade or Lourdes.
Yeah.
Like if you just do nothing.
Do nothing.
Just do nothing.
No, all the trades they made were for the worse. And you can relitigate the Varsho thing all you want. Like
that
last year.
It should also be said those were made after 22. So, right? They were back for 22 and they were made at the...
No, but you said Moreno.
Yeah. That was made after 22.
Yeah.
They played out the 20. So the season we're talking about is 21.
Right.
So if they have proof of concept in 21, they get into the playoffs, and who knows if they win a World Series. But it felt like that team had a run in it.
I know, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You and I are saying the same thing.
Yes.
All we're saying at the exact same time is 22 is very different if 21 has that rope of success.
Even if they fail in the 2 games against the Mariners in 22.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I think that they, first of all, if they wouldn't get into the playoffs in 2021, and we're doing the what ifs, you can't say they would have won a World Series, but they were the hottest team in baseball. They had good front end starting pitching, and the bats were red hot and deep.
Yeah.
They were nasty.
Yep.
Nobody would have wanted to play them. They would have essentially been kind of what the Diamondbacks were last year.
Except better.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But the Diamondbacks last year did have that 1-2 punch at the top of their order, right? Although Gallen wasn't as great as he could have been, but Kelly was really good.
Yeah.
And then they had a bunch of guys who were just swinging hot sticks.
Yeah.
And the Jays would have had, I think, that a similar formula. They would have actually been deeper at starting pitching, and they would have had even better bats.
And Vladdy... Yeah, in the midst of his best season ever. And you can talk about the minor league ballparks, not him. But he had a great season on the road
and people were afraid of him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think the start in the minor league ballparks contributed to him just getting better and more confident as the season went along.
Yeah.
It's also interesting to think about like how his career arc plays out if they play at Rogers
and they win
Center.
Some baseball games at Rogers Center in 21, and it's just like...
Yeah, I was going to say the opposite. Like, if he doesn't boost his numbers in those minor league ballparks, like, what if they play the whole 21 season? I mean, this is...
No, that would have been nothing. It wouldn't have... His stock was so high in the moment that it wouldn't have changed a damn thing. It really wouldn't have. He could have gone over throughout the entire playoffs. It wouldn't have been a damn thing.
You know what's crazy to think about in retrospect is, like, he's pretty good in 22. Like, 22 was... Holy cow, if you could sign up
wow, you've reached this point where you're now in on Vlad.
No.
Yeah? You just did it. You're like, in retrospect, I don't give Vlad enough credit. It's like, wow. Ooh.
Yeah, because I was judging him against what I thought was possible in 21. Okay. But now in retrospect, it's like damning with faint praise.
Follow your logic, but yeah, okay, guys. Damning with faint praise. Yeah, it's rude.
He had an OPS north of 800 in 22.
Rude ways to... Yeah, he's going to finish with that this season, too.
You think?
North of 800?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Vlad?
Yeah, he's a singles machine. He's incredible, and I love the process. No. I really do. Like,
I'll take that bet right now. No question. OPS over 800? You want to make that bet?
I don't think he's finishing with an OPS north of 800, and I think Bo Bichette is finishing with an OPS north of 800.
So you think it's more likely Bo finishes with a higher OPS than Vlad?
I think...
That's what you said. You just said that.
Yeah, I mean, I would bet on it. I don't think in Vegas they would give you those odds. Like, I think...
what you're asking... So now you're making a proclamation, but asking me... That's the worst thing a sports bettor does. This is actually... What you just heard, folks, what you just heard is actually the most toxic thing that any sports fan does, which is they're like, I'm really convicted in this thing. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, actually, I think that's kind of crazy. I'll bet you on the opposite. And then you go, well, you got to give me odds. You're like, what? You're the one who said it. Yeah. I didn't say it. You said it.
So
outrageous that you would do. Hey, move on. No, quick. What?
No.
Okay.
Vlad has an OPS of 760 right now.
I'm
where
aware.
He's got the batting average up to 275.
Yeah.
On base is amazing.
Yeah.
373. Everything's a single.
Yeah.
Everything's a single.
Yeah, it is.
It's all a single.
Yeah.
He has 4 home runs. His slugging percentage, the league average slugging percentage in this era where like nobody hits. Nobody scores runs. Like people score more runs than the Blue Jays, but like nobody.
Everybody scores more runs. There's like your fake team that you just made up in your head.
In this era, nobody scores runs, and the slugging percentage is over 400. He has a 388 slugging percentage. And
I'm saying that is the more.
You think he's going to be? He looked amazing because he's like getting on base and hitting 115 mile an hour singles.
Yeah, he is.
You think it's just like a matter of time?
Worm burners like Vladdy.
You think it's just a matter and infield singles up the middle.
Yeah.
You think it's just a matter of time before like the thing that everybody keeps saying will happen, and even with the advanced launch angle that he had last year, still didn't happen.
Yeah, here's what I think.
Balls are going to start flying over the fence soon.
I don't think it's going to be like, oh my God, he's 2021 Vladdy. I'm never going to believe in that again. You'll just I'm not going to. I'll never fall for it. What I do think is going to happen is I don't believe that the average is going to tail off in a significant way, or that on base is going to tail off in a significant way. I think that it is more likely with the speed, the exit velocity of those hits, that just some of those singles start to. Yeah, I'm just no. I'm not doing it. I'm not trying to get outrageous with it, because some people try to do that where they're like, oh, this guy's been miscast or misunderstood, or everyone's an idiot because they think Vladdy hasn't been good enough. I'm not doing that guy. I'm doing normal guy, which is, I'm going to say balance of probabilities, that he doesn't just hit this many singles, that he adds, like, what is it? His May right now, he's hitting over 400, and he's got 2 extra base hits. I'm saying that if he continues to hit it at this rate, he'll have more than 2 extra base hits in half of a month when he's hitting over 400.
I think if we're talking about balance of probabilities.
You said that sober. I think, okay, what do you think?
I think if we're going on balance of probabilities, he'll do the thing that he's done the majority of the seasons in his major league career, and that's have an OPS under 800.
All right.
He's only twice done it. And with the 2022 season, that I was
that's
amazing.
That's jarring to hear, though. That, if that's one of those, let that sink in for a second. Yeah, stats, like, hey, he's only done it twice.
And I was just like,
how many years has he played?
Yeah,
more than 2,
5 full seasons. Like, his debut season, he only played 123 games, which for George Springer before last year was like, that's pretty good. Like,
I still don't count. How many plate appearances did he have?
Only 514.
Oh, that counts.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, that counts.
Yeah. And
that sure counts.
No, I know. And again, the season that I was like, boy, you'd sign up for it in 2022. We had an 818 OPS.
Many plate appearances that year? That's
yeah, man.
I guess he
arrived
early.
in May.
It was. Yeah, you're right. We were there. I don't know why it's so weird to me.
So I'll take the thing that is most likely just judging from the guy's baseball reference page to happen, And the other guy who's always above 800, I'll take that guy also to be over 800.
Well, some pretty solid work by you.
Thank you.
Some pretty solid work, detective.
Thanks.
I'll still take the bet, but I'm not giving you odds then. You made a really compelling case.
No, I've talked myself out of odds. You're right.
Yeah, thank you. So the bet is who finishes with the higher OPS.
Yeah.
Vlad or Bo, and I have Vlad.
Yep.
Okay, good. Done.
Yeah, all right, done.
Yeah, okay. Terms off air. Anyway, let's take a quick break.